All right, it is August 5th, 2018, and this is the No Cell Society Show. I'm your host, Gerard G. Kaihui, and with me this week is my partner in crime, the one and only Dave Drashev. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, Dave, so this week we're going to change it up a little bit. I know I'm usually the one that kind of run the show a little bit, but this week I'm going to turn the tables over to you because I'm lazy and I just woke up. But no, we're going to turn the tables over to you this week to kind of get us going through what happened and what we need to talk about on this edition of the No Soul Society. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let's see what we've got going on the table. What's piquing your interest this week in pro wrestling?
All right. So this Wednesday, August 8th, and this Thursday, August 9th, down at Full Sail University in Florida, WWE is going to be filming their Mae Young Classic. Basically, I guess the whole tournament leading into the finals, which won't be until the WWE Evolution show on Sunday, October 28th. But yeah, that's a big topic. We are 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, so if you want to cover the breakdown of those matches or even do predictions, maybe it might be a little early, but we can talk to what they've got scheduled so far.
Well, I'd love to start off with the Mae Young Classic. Let's talk about the Mae Young Classic. This is the second tournament that they're running, which is featuring all women, mostly new names for people not familiar with the WWE universe. Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about what happened last year. Were you a big fan of what they did last year for the Mae Young Classic?
It's one of the things. It obviously came after the Cruiserweight Classic, which so much of this is the announced team, and Jim Ross and Lita. Knock on those two because I like both those folks, but I don't know. Like after you have Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan, it's just I don't know. Like everything is kind of second below that.
I agree. I mean, the announced the Cruiserweight Classic really was a precedent that started everything, right? Mm-hmm. As far as the format was concerned, they followed a similar format when it comes to the Mae Young Classic. But the Cruiserweight Classic, I mean, having the announced team of Daniel Bryan and Mauro Ranallo, who both are very passionate people for professional wrestling. And again, you and I both went through the 90s with JR, as lead announcer. The passion was there. I'm not saying the passion is not there anymore, but you can't deny that there are certain times where JR kind of felt like, either he didn't know a lot about the women in the ring, or it almost felt, and I hate to say it, like he was kind of phoning in a lot of the action. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. And one thing, going back to the format, though, and I might be wrong about this, but I want to say it was, weren't they like 30-minute episodes? And they kind of got like dumped almost like Netflix binge watching style.
Right. Yeah, it was a little different where they basically, they where the Cruiserweight Classic was a weekly episode. Yeah, there was a whole tranche where they just kind of did like what they wanted to do, binge watching a little bit the Mae Young Classic, which is fine. I mean, I was fine with both. But I do think, the announced team on the Cruiserweight Classic was very strong. But overall, I mean, excuse me, having Kairi Sane win the whole tournament, I thought it was the right call. Toni Storm obviously is somebody to keep an eye out for, and she is in the next Mae Young Classic. There's a couple things that I heard regarding there's a couple things that I heard regarding last year's Mae Young Classic, including Marty Bell. From what I understand, listening to the Jim Cornette podcast, she was actually supposed to win that match against Rachel Evers, Paul Ellering's daughter. But apparently midway through the match, they called it and basically said, well, you know what? This girl looks like she can't even wrestle. So they changed it to have Rachel Evers win.
Yeah.
And she's not invited again this year, apparently. So rumors are not, I don't know. But that was kind of the big surprise that came out for me on the, as far as rumors are concerned, for the Mae Young Classic.
Okay, yeah, I just saw something about that as well, and I guess Rachel Evers or Rachel Ellering, where you see her is back this year. I don't know, like there's a few returning folks.
Let's run down. Oh yeah, Mia Yim. Let's run down a little bit of who's in. The first big announcement they made was Caitlyn, right? Caitlyn's coming back. She was during that era, right at the tail end of the Diva Search era. She was also on the NXT portion. She was kind of a man. She was that replacement for Vicky Guerrero's pick, right? When they had Aloysia. Originally, she was the 6 foot tall. She's been on My Giant Life on the Learning Network, and I was kind of excited. But then,
I think I remember her.
Yeah, and I was really excited because I thought, like, wow, she really dwarfed a lot of. I mean, she made the like AJ Lee look tiny compared to her, and unfortunately, whether it was her supposed adult entertainment background, which was, I guess, softcore, or the fact that she was really, really green, I don't know, but one of the two others, she was ousted and replaced with Caitlyn.
Huh. Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember. I would say weren't the NXT finals? Wasn't it like Caitlyn and AJ that year?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe it was. Yeah, it was a weird NXT format, where coaches and rookies and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Caitlyn was there. I thought she was okay. She had a definitely more interesting look because she wasn't like the Divas model-esque look as John Laurinaitis went on that weird search for body models versus pro wrestlers. That was a weird history in the WWE. But are you excited to see her coming back?
Oh yeah. Actually, like the biggest one, and this is one of the ones that stuck out to me that I remember from last year. And I'm not too familiar with her work in like Shine or Shimmer. Is Mercedes Martinez? Do you remember her?
Well, she was in it last year. Yep.
Yeah, like we see that's one. Like I'm excited to see her and Toni Storm back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I like the specials where you kind of get like a little bit of a vignette on their backstory and maybe some footage from them in the indies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's without saying too much of that, it's kind of it still feels early, But
well, it's tough because when you're a wrestling geek, you follow a lot of these different things. I mean, my mind right now kind of goes to the other two. I mean, yeah, Caitlyn was a big signing, or at least that's how they started off with the Mae Young Classic. But then when they announced that Io Shirai, who worked with Kairi Hojo, she was coming in, that was a big thing because both of them were supposed to be in last year, supposedly, but Io, of course, ended up getting wasn't able to be cleared.
Mm-hmm.
But now she has been medically cleared, and so she is going to be there. But then they make another announcement for another Japanese legend
to like set her up for the tournament, though.
Well, it's going to be for me. It's going to be tough personally because now they got Meiko Satomura, who is now also announced in it. And if you've not watched any of Meiko and Shirai or Hojo or any of those three wrestle together, I mean, that's the match that I want to see. I mean, to me, that's the finals that should happen. And I mean, Japan has such a rich, gallant history of women's pro wrestling. It's crazy where you can just throw, a whole bunch of names that have actually wrestled in that industry together. And, from what I understand, I mean, Satomura, I mean, she is, she's going to be turning 40 in a couple of years. But I mean, she has helped a lot of different women in the professional wrestling world. And man, it's just, if you haven't had a chance to just YouTube some of Meiko and Shirai's matches, I definitely highly recommend you to do that because that's in my mind what women's wrestling should look like, or at least be. I mean, very hard, very stiff, very, very competitive. And it's tough because you've mentioned, a couple of rookies that are there. I mean, even Chelsea Green, she's coming back. But they're still, I mean, with all due respect, they're still very green compared to a lot of these girls,
Sure.
And, I don't mind seeing another Japanese woman win the tournament because in a way they kind of should. I'm sorry. They kind of should. I mean, they've been doing it. They've been doing it longer. They've been doing it better than most of the current people on the roster. I mean, is there somebody on there on that list? Other than like, Toni Storm's great, but and of course, she's still pretty young. She's in her early 20s.
Well, I think
but who else is there?
Are they going to spin her off into like NXT UK come the fall?
Well, I mean, she's a big name. I'd definitely love to see her on the main roster, just like with Pete Dunne. But yeah, I mean, they've got a fledgling group in the UK. She probably would do a little bit more for that market. I don't know. I mean, she's Australian who lives in the UK, who wrestles in Japan, so she's very world traveled, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where you try and look at it from a fan perspective, and then you try and think of it from a business perspective. So it's like, as excited as I am about these women coming over from Japan, I'm like, who's signed for sure? Like post tournament.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like 2 steps down the road is like, okay, cool. Can we spin any feuds
right.
after the tournament?
Well, I mean, yeah. If we go back to the Cruiserweight Classic, I mean, Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, that to me should have been the final. That to me, should have been the last 2 guys. But obviously, yeah. I mean, Kota, I think, made the right decision. Didn't sign. Zack Sabre Jr., same thing, made the right decision, didn't sign. I mean, yeah, sure, he's in New Japan, but I mean, the matches that these guys have put together, since not being with the WWE, I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, they're just great overall matches. I mean, you even look at what's happening with AJ Styles. I mean, AJ Styles, he is where he should be, but to say that they would give that type of push to someone like Kota and Zack, I don't know. It's so weird how the WWE basically looks at somebody and says like, okay, can we make money with this person or not? I don't know.
Think of the Royal Rumble. Yeah, coming out of that, I mean, it was all excitement. Like everybody was stoked to Nakamura had won the men's Royal Rumble, and Asuka had won the women's Royal Rumble, and then you see where they are. What is this, like 8 months later ish?
Right.
And, oh man, like it doesn't give you a lot of faith in the booking for this company.
Not at all. Again, I mean, to me, it made sense at the time why they did things, why Charlotte beat Asuka, and then if they're going to have Carmella run with it. I mean, jumping a little bit ahead, if you've watched SmackDown, that promo that she cut on Becky was one of the best promos out there. I was like, I mean, whoever's writing it or whoever's doing the promos for SmackDown, I mean, kudos to them. I mean, I applaud them because that was actually real. That was actually something that we all could get behind.
Like the wrestlers are involved with it. I mean, because like I'm sure they're writing for 8 different storylines, and it's like, well, hey, maybe you need to be reminded that she was the last one picked in the draft,
right?
For the women, like the last person picked, and then that Becky was the first woman. I mean, right. Little details like that are just like what's going to make that work.
Yeah. I mean, just to think, like, I mean, there was a time when Vince says like wrestling fans don't remember, and I guess bull, because then why would you pull the whole Demon Kane hand birth angle, like obscure stuff? No, fans that that's why we're fans. We're fanatics about this thing. We all remember this stuff. That was great that they reminded people, about Carmella, that she was a joke, that people, that she got so much hate online. I mean, it's just so good. It's so good. And then, just a little bit of jumping around here, going to Joe's promo about, AJ Styles. I mean, we have seen AJ and Samoa Joe wrestle how many times, and we know how good those matches are. You don't have to sell us, but for the newbies, yes, you have to sell them, and that was a great way to selling these people on buying into the match, buying into this feud with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. So good.
I hope so, but then I think of AJ and Nakamura, and I'm just like, please, just step away and let the wrestlers wrestle.
Right.
This is so easy not to mess up,
Right. Yeah, it's no.
Give the WWE stamp of approval on it. It's just, and you're killing me, Smalls.
They are, and they are older. They are a little bit more damaged than they were in their TNA days. But some of those TNA matches with Joe and Styles, Joe and Daniels and Styles, I mean, just phenomenal. I mean, I am looking forward to it with bated breath. But then they're gonna try and basically say like, well, no, we got to let Lesnar and Reigns shine, and then I'm just gonna be like, really? Why? But anyway, we kind of diverged a little bit about it. Getting back to the Mae Young Classic, anybody else? I mean, Sarah Logan, not gonna be part of it this year, obviously because she's on the main roster now. But we've got a lot of standouts that are coming up.
So I'm looking. Rachel Evers is returning. You've got Allison Kay, who is Sienna in Impact Wrestling.
That's going to be interesting since she did have a little feud with Charlotte Flair over who did the pinky raising first.
Yep. You've got Ashley Rain, who's Madison Rain in TNA, so that might be somebody to keep an eye on.
I don't know. Is she still married to Josh Matthews, the announcer for Impact Wrestling?
Maybe. I don't know. Again, Mia Yim, Mercedes Martinez, Rhea Ripley is coming back.
Rhea Ripley, I know they've got I mean, she's been wrestling house shows. So, I know they've got a good eye on her.
Deonna Purrazzo as well.
Deonna Purrazzo, yep. She was one of the ones that, has really, tried and, to be part of the WWE. There's been a lot of on the NXT tapings. I think she's paid her way to train a couple of times. So I do hope they make good use out of her since, ROH and a lot of other companies are still trying to step up their women's game.
Definitely. But yeah, looking through so Wikipedia has the page on the tournament. It's got all the different countries that everyone's from. So that's pretty cool. But you see a breakdown of folks from the U.S., Japan, Scotland, England. Karen Hugh, it says, is from China. You've got Kavita Devi from India.
Ooh, I'm not a big fan of her. Still really green. I mean, she's still really green. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be there. I'm really disappointed that. Well, yeah, you said Xia Li is going to be back. She was in there first for a while, been part of the Performance Center, and then got released earlier this year. So I'm glad they're bringing her back. You said Rachel Evers, obviously. Unfortunately, we said Marty Bell earlier, not going to be part of it, and Kimber Lee is not going to be part of it, or Abby Lath, as she was.
One I thought was really good coming out of last year's tournament.
I mean, she was. I mean, again, I don't know why. But we were all excited for her. They've got Casey Catanzaro from the American Ninja Warrior competition shows. I'm comparing her a little bit to Alexa Bliss because of her size, and she could probably kind of pull off that little pixie heel kind of thing. But obviously she's so beloved. We'll see how she does. But I'll be interested to see her kind of pull it through this particular tournament. But Madison Rain, you saying she's going by Nicole Matthews now? Is that what her name is?
No. Well, actually, they've got her listed as Nicole Matthews on Wikipedia. They've got her as Rain on the Wrestling Observer.
Right. They've got Ginny. They've got Tegan Knox, who is what's her name now?
Tainara Conti from NXT. She's on.
Tainara Conti. She's the one that's running it. But Tegan Knox, she was with. Oh crap! Why can't I remember her name now? Team Kick with. What's her name from New Zealand?
Yeah,
I can't remember her current name now. It's escaping me. But yeah, Tegan Knox, she's coming in, which I think will be kind of great to kind of reunite Team Kick. Because I mean, she was Evie on the indie scene, and now she's like, Dakota Kai. God, why couldn't I remember Dakota Kai? But yeah, so Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai. I mean, they'll be reuniting in the WWE, but obviously Dakota Kai is not going to be part of the tournament.
No, this is good. I'm hoping a lot of feuds will come out of this.
Yeah. Well, I hope like we said with Mia Yim, I hope she gets signed. I think she's been a very strong talent, especially coming out of the Impact scene. Reina Gonzalez, she's coming back for a second time. Mercedes Martinez, again, a great veteran, and this is where Mauro Ranallo will be really strong at telling a lot of these stories, a lot of these backgrounds, because as passionate as he is, I mean, once he gets his fingers into like the struggles and what these women or any competitor has gone through, I mean, he puts it out there, which I think is such an important role for an announcer to kind of give us this background, not only with segmented video packages, but in the ring, in the match as it's happening. I think it's going to be great.
Do we know, is he confirmed for the announce team?
I hope so. I mean, yeah, like I said, he's only been rumored. and I hope it is. I hope he is because I think he's a little bit stronger. Plus, we already know JR is pretty much entrenched with a lot of the New Japan tapings and things that are happening. So who knows? Who knows?
What do you think as far as like a female perspective? Like I really liked Beth Phoenix when they had her commentating. Was that last year's tournament or?
Well, she was at. I think she commentated on certain matches, but for the most part, it was JR and Lita kind of doing the whole 9 yards on things. I like Beth to a certain degree, but you know what? I actually liked Renee. I thought Renee Young added a different perspective on it, and I thought she was good. I thought she was good as on the announce team.
Do you remember when she was doing commentary? It was like NXT.
Yeah.
It was like Albert, Regal, and Renee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was probably still maybe the best NXT team.
I liked it, because again, you had something that was different and fresh than those were done, and nothing against Corey Graves, but Corey Graves follows that whole kind of like Jesse Ventura shtick, which is good. I mean, and I get it,
but I really like when they're just calling the match.
Yeah, exactly, and even though Renee would throw in some type of things like talking about the girl's hair or things like that, I always thought it was kind of refreshing to have a different perspective on the announce team, but
the other thing I really liked, and I saw on NXT this week when they were doing the match with Candice LeRae and Shayna Baszler, is the female ref.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Having a female ref is also kind of.
It's like, look, man, I want to make this as different and diverse as anything on your channel. There's a place for Brock and Roman. That's not for me, but like, I want something different from that.
Yeah.
So like, I'm all for that. If they hire a second or third female ref, like, awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I mean, we've got let's see, looking over. I'm pulling up the list now because earlier we talked about Io Shirai joining, and then Meiko Satomura. Now you got Hiroyo Matsumoto. You got like 3 great Japanese women in this freaking tournament. And then you got Zia Brookside, who's Robbie Brookside's daughter. I mean, like, come on. Yeah, I mean, like, wow, just phenomenal names here. Some I'm not familiar with, like Ariel Monroe. I'm not sure who that is. Vanessa Craven, Zatara, Zusix, not sure. Isla Dawn, we've seen her, and Killer Kelly in the UK tournament, the second UK tournament that happened.
They're saying Zia Lee from China. I guess she was in last year's tournament.
Yeah, Zia Lee was in last year's tournament. She's, she came out kind of like in that goal. She's like, so she was the one that used to be the translator, one of the translators, because I know it was her and Ho Ho Lim that kind of helped the Chinese group, right?
Interesting.
What was it?
Do you remember who was the lady? I want to say she was from Germany, but she was like.
Oh no, I'm totally wrong. Sorry, that wasn't her. That wasn't her. Zia Lee is the actual Chinese recruit. My bad. Okay. Yeah, so Zia Lee was the one that she was in the red and black that came out with the fan and stuff like that. So I thought they brought back, what's her name? The other girl, the one that got let go.
Rhea Ripley is in that. And then that was maybe who it was.
No.
Do you remember who the lady was that was from Germany though last year? The really big lady that looked like, oh man, she could
alpha female, yeah, Jazzy Gabbert.
Yeah, like whatever became of her, do you know?
I don't know. If you're not familiar with her, there's something that I found out about her last year. I did not realize she was Masahiro Chono's stepdaughter.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Cool. Masa Chono's stepdaughter, because they were talking about this story about her family not being behind her. She was abandoned. I'm just like, her stepdad's Masa Chono. So what the heck happened there? So I was trying to get a little bit more insight on that, but obviously never brought it up. But I was like, your stepdad was Masa Chono, and he didn't want you in wrestling. Okay, I mean I get it to a certain extent, but
I mean,
to say that
fantastic look, and I don't know.
She had failed her wellness test or her physical. Apparently she had neck issues So like a pinched nerve. So that's kind of what, stopped her from getting signed. Her and Viper, Viper, I forget what they called her, but she was the more bigger rounded girl from Scotland. Yeah.
No, Piper something, right?
Piper. Yeah. I forget what they called her here in the WWE, but yeah, on the indie circuit, she went as Viper. And she's wrestled. I thought she wrestled a few house shows, and I thought her and Candice LeRae were going to get signed, but just kind of like with Sage Beckett and a couple of the other girls, she just didn't make it onto the roster. So Piper Nevin, is that what they called her? Yeah, Piper Nevin. Yeah, I thought she had a great look as well too. But I mean, just it's always nice to see something different, right?
Yes, definitely, big time.
All right, let's look at what we've got here down the line here. So we've got a lot of new groups, and obviously some people that I need to kind of get reacclimated with. But overall, I think I'm super stoked. Since they're not going to do another Cruiserweight Classic for a while, I'm glad they're doing this.
Do we know why that is? Is that just because they don't have a lot of free talent on the that's unsigned, or
I have no idea. That's a great question. I wish I knew.
That was. I mean, I liked it because it was like a longer format and it was like weekly episodes. Like I hate this thing of you get like Royal Albert Hall dropped on a Monday, and you get it dropped on Tuesdays.
Right. I mean, like look,
be a week just for WWE, like
right?
Please,
I mean, between you and I, yes, I did watch it during work, but I had it playing in the background because it's like the one thing that I hate is like my Twitter feed. Plus, if you have the WWE app on your phone, it always spoils crap for you too. That's how I found out about Aleister Black and Tommaso Ciampa was because the app said like, hey, title change at NXT taping. I mean, granted, they gave me that, but then I dove down the rabbit hole and found out who it was, and I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me! Why would you?
Have you seen this week's NXT TV?
Yes.
Okay, like I watched that this morning, and I mean, I get that they have the same fans in the show like this week, but the amount of hatred that has for Tommaso Ciampa is amazing.
It's amazing. I'm great. I love it. But before we dive into NXT, let's finish up on that list of Mae Young Classic. Who do you have? Who do you think, or who are you hoping ends up winning the tournament this year? Again, the inaugural champion, Kairi Hojo, first one to win the women's Mae Young Classic. Who are you looking on that list? Any predictions at this time?
Granted, I haven't seen everybody. Especially, I want to preface this with the ladies from Japan. So going into this, what little bit I know, what little bit I've seen, I really like Toni Storm, and I really like Mercedes Martinez. I really like the whole like going back to Brian Kendrick, where it was like the vet, somewhere where it's like their last shot. I hope it's not Caitlyn. Nothing against her, but it's like
yeah. I would not Caitlyn either. I'm hoping, I agree. So you're thinking you're either putting on Toni Storm or Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah. But
if I was go ahead.
I don't know if Mercedes Martinez has been signed. That's kind of where it's like that's probably just maybe filler. But Toni Storm I know is signed. But again, like I don't know. Like, I feel like she's going to be the star of NXT UK for the women.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like maybe you hold off on pushing her.
Or from, a different perspective, from the marketing sense, is like, okay, now you have the winner of the Mae Young Classic part of the UK, NXT UK. So that's another way that they could spin it if, that's where they go.
And you can always go back to her and Shayna Baszler from the Royal Albert Hall.
Right. Because she technically did not get pinned or beaten by Shayna Baszler, so that's great for them. So if they're going to put a lot of their money behind Toni Storm, why not go with Toni Storm? For me personally, if I had the book, right?
Yeah,
I had the book. You just can't go wrong with Shirai and Storm or Satomura and Storm. I mean. You have to bracket this show to where you give the fans Satomura versus Shirai, whether it's first round, second round, quarterfinals, something, because that match I guarantee you, I will put money on it, will be one of the highlights of the Mae Young Classic. And then if you put Toni Storm versus Io Shirai, which again, those two girls have gone at it time and time again, you are basically underpaying $9.99 to watch that match. Totally. You totally underpaying for that match.
Well,
So
I got
Shirai and Storm in the finals would kind of be perfect, but who knows?
So they're taping that this week. So right now we don't know any of the matches. We don't know any of the finals or anything. You want to do this where maybe you read the spoilers and maybe I don't read the spoilers?
Oh, I'm going to be reading the spoilers no matter what. But I won't share. Yeah, I won't share it with you. I won't share it with you.
No. I don't want to know. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like depending on how, but like if they drop it week to week versus like a big dump of here's 6 episodes and here's 6 more episodes or whatever the format is.
Here's the thing though. For me, it's like I will read the spoilers. I read the spoilers on the Cruiserweight Classic. I read the spoilers in the Mae Young Classic. But when you're watching it, there's times when I was like, who won this match? I mean, that's when I know the matches were so good that it actually took me out and basically said like I couldn't like my mind was telling me like, are you sure this is the person that you read that won the match? Because of the way, the way that everything was booked, I was just kind of like, or the way the match was going, I was like, were you sure that this, my mind was telling me, and plus it's so long, there's such a huge gap between the time they tape to the time that they're actually showing it.
Yeah, it's
weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, what happened there? I don't know.
Do you want to maybe like revisit predictions after they air whatever the kind of getting to know you pre-tournament special is going to be?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we'll have at that time I think we should have a little bit more people on the panel for the show at the No Soul Society. So there'll be a few that would watch it, and there's a couple that I know that are adamantly against spoilers. So it'll be a good discussion, good talk. So
yeah. Okay, cool.
But having said that, let's move on to the NXT tapings. Yes. So you mentioned NXT. What was the highlights for you this week?
Okay, this
other
week
than Ciampa, right? I mean, Ciampa, that guy's money. I mean, that's the thing. It's so hard. This is one of the things. It's so infuriating. Is like, how hard is it to take what's worked so well in NXT and translate it over into the main roster? How hard is it?
It's so funny because it's so simple. It's like this guy comes out with no music. He doesn't look like everything he says is true. He's like, I told you I only needed one shot to become champion. Right. Oh, I hate this guy because he's right, And then he's like jaw jacking me. It's like classic Pro Wrestling 101 with the old lady in the front row, and you're just like, I love this.
Right.
It's like half the crowd is filling him with their phones, and the other half is like telling him to go to hell, Ciampa, you're the devil, and that's I don't know. I love pro wrestling like this, where it's just like bad guys are bad, the good guys are good. I mean,
right.
Easy peasy. With that said, this week I really liked 2 matches. EC3 versus Kona Reeves, and I'm not the biggest Kona Reeves fan, but they had Velveteen Dream come out and interrupt the match.
Right.
And that to me is maybe my favorite part of the whole show.
So let's go back to that again. I mean, here's the guy, easy money, right? I mean, Patrick Clark is now, he actually did a Trump kind of Republican GOP supporter gimmick prior to this Velveteen Dream. I'm glad he went with the Velveteen Dream gimmick. I mean, just the guy's money, right? I mean, he hasn't won any pay-per-view. He has not won one pay-per-view as the Velveteen Dream, but still in some of the most memorable matches, one of the most memorable characters out there. Is this guy ready for the main roster?
Ooh. Ready? Yeah, to go to the main roster? No. I almost feel like you describe him, it's almost like Tommy Dreamer in ECW, where this guy he's like the lovable loser, only Velveteen Dream is a heel. But it's like he's going to be a babyface because this Full Sail audience is just in love with him. And it's not just Full Sail. I mean, like they go to Chicago and the Dream is over, like huge. So, I don't expect him to get booed in New York for TakeOver Brooklyn 4 either. But yeah, this guy, I think the longer you sit on him in developmental, the bigger he's going to be. Like, I don't want to see him get written on the main roster. I mean, because he's so young too.
Right.
So I mean, you've got guys like who are what, like mid to late 30s, who it's like, you know, we kind of need to push him to the main roster. You know, that's super over in NXT. But Patrick Clark, I think, is only what, like 22, maybe 23.
Yeah, he's still pretty young. Yeah, he's still a young cat, and you know, definitely homegrown talent. You know, definitely one of the rare homegrown talents that can actually, I think, you know, carry a card. You know, definitely.
I want him go through each like division and become champion. He could be like the first NXT Grand Slam champion, if that's a thing.
Right.
This North American title with Adam Cole. They've got the NXT title with Tommaso Ciampa. Like, you could like Johnny Gargano, or even go back to Aleister Black and revisit that feud, you know, and have him come in as a, or maybe wait till they turn him face and come in as the face champion.
Right.
And in between, get a tag title run, you know, have something like, I always go back to Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, where they were the tag team champs. And they like hated each other, you know?
Yeah.
And like they were feuding. I mean, well, that's the angle they do a lot with a lot of people. But one of those where it's like the two people that are, you know, of course that kind of, I don't know. I think it's more beneficial if you have a smaller roster, and the NXT roster right now is fantastic.
Right.
That I can't say enough good things about that. Like, the more I watch that show, it's almost like you want to save that for last, because it's like dessert.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it's good. It's Smack. You kind of have to bookend it, where if you're watching WWE TV, like Raw has to be in the middle, and then 205 Live.
205 Live is actually a really good show. I mean, I think they've done really well on 205 Live, but yeah, Raw is just one of those shows where it's like it's such a chore to watch. It's just good. It's been getting to that point. Even with the highlights, is like, is it worth sticking around? I mean, it's one of those things where, again, I just have it in the background. Whereas SmackDown, you know, I'm interested in what's happening on SmackDown. I'm interested in the feud. You know, the whole Nakamura, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton kind of thing. You know, it's actually it's actually interesting now. You know.
Did you see last where they had the backstage segment with Nakamura, where he's like, "Jeff Hardy, do you hear me?"
Yeah.
And he's like pointing to his ear. Just like, oh, this is so much better than babyface Nakamura. This is just great. You know, I like
Nakamura too. I do. I'm glad they gave him I mean, you know, this character has a lot more depth now as a heel. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just wish his signature move wasn't, you know, having to do the nut shot. But I don't know if you saw that video that was going around in a house show where like he kind of misses the nut shot on Jeff Hardy. Yeah. So on look it up online. There's a clip that was going around where he was wrestling Jeff Hardy at a house show, and Nakamura misses, like, just totally like air whiffs the nut shot, and he's just stuck there in that pose, and the ref is looking at him, Jeff Hardy's looking at him, and he's just kind of like you know, it's like this weird couple of seconds where he's just kind of like, oops, and then you know, kind of plays the whole thing off. So
he's got a goofy face where he's like, what, me?
Yeah, exactly, like, hey, you know, and then, you know, everybody's pointing it out. It was an interesting spot that they did.
It's kind of slinking off, where it was just like, okay, like, you don't want any of this, but like I don't know, it was interesting. But like, I don't want to sound like I'm a fan of Randy Orton, because that's not the case. But it's been better than not better lately with this feud with Jeff Hardy.
Right. You know, it makes him interesting, and I know he likes playing the heel anyway. But yeah, I mean, you know, sure, why not? I mean, something needs to happen with this feud. You know, it just can't be as one dimensional as a lot of things that has been in the past. So yeah, but let's get back to NXT though. Let me ask you about EC3. I mean, you know, is that guy? I mean, again, Derek Bateman. You know, his coach was Daniel Bryan on NXT. What was his thing? Chicks and cars, or chicks? Oh God, I can't remember what his catchphrase was, but it was so good. I mean, you know,
I remember his hair.
His hair
like,
was fantastic, and you should definitely take out that look where he and Daniel Bryan go on a double date with the Bella twins, because that was phenomenal. That guy does have personality for and I hope they give him a chance. But I'm gonna throw this out there. I hope he's not like a Bobby Roode, where Bobby Roode is such a great talent. He's kind of like Triple H. He's got that kind of Triple H feel to him, and on the main roster now they've got him in this feud with. I mean, he's just kind of like in mid-card hell, and now he's feuding with Mojo Rawley, who I mean, Mojo's got a great look.
Do you think when he pissed somebody off and that's his punishment? Like,
I don't know. It's like, do you not have anything better to do with a guy he's such a solid technician,
Yeah,
such a solid technician. Same thing. I'm going to say the same thing with EC3. I mean, a great wrestling guy, great personality. They can make money with Roode. They could make money with EC3, and you go back to, they could have made a huge amount of money with Bayley, because she resonates with the young girl demographic. She is like the female John Cena in that aspect, where little kids love Bayley. But again, dropping the ball. Same thing as we talked about with Asuka. I don't know, looking, because NXT is that, right? NXT is that revolving door that basically tries to make these stars, but put them out there, and then, it's up to them. I'm still, and again, I'm jumping around a little bit, but again, I'm still baffled at how, guys like Big Cass, who's now Big Kaz on the indie, right? Big Kaz on the indie scene. I mean, how is that? I don't understand it. I don't understand how he's I just don't understand. Interesting.
I don't know, like I kind of like, I didn't follow EC3 and Impact very much. I like what I saw of him with the Rockstar Spud, who's now Maverick on
Drake
205
Maverick.
Live.
Yep.
Then that stage, maybe during a pay-per-view, you're like, I'm a fan of your work, man. They're like, yeah, I like your stuff too. Just some kind of like winking and nod, but like they kind of did something like that with I can't remember the girl's name. She's beautiful. She's on Lucha Underground. Is like one of the main like head villains, but she was like the kind of manager with Derek Bateman. They had her on Impact in a segment with EC3, and he's like, "Yeah, I like you," and they're kind of like played up their NXT like interaction before, but it's kind of a nice wink and nod.
That is a nice
to
the
audience.
You always like seeing things like that happen.
Yeah, but I think I want to see him as a babyface. Like, I think this might can work, but I wonder that like maybe he gets turned to the main roster though, just because it's the same thing with Bobby Roode. It's like, man, when this guy works as a heel, he's going to be great. They've kind of made him a babyface, kind of start-stopped, and it's just like, look, how do you get turned so much on Mondays,
Yeah, I there's I don't know, there's a secret to this whole thing that I guess we're not a part of, and with the planning, but again, you look at the merchandise these guys move, you look at like the interaction that they have with the fans, and you kind of wonder like why. I mean, they kind of like, we said NXT gives you the blueprint. Here you go. Yeah. Why not just follow the whole thing?
I'm like chanting this guy. I mean, I know it's more than just an entrance song, but I mean they're into it. Like, you go back and watch this week's episode, that audience guy. You get these, maybe they're planned. I don't know. Maybe they hand these out before the seconds. These NX3 signs. It's like, this can work,
right?
I really, he's not just like the TNA guy or the guy that failed out at NXT. But that they could use this more so than Bobby Roode, but because there is that history there.
All right.
Hey, I mean, the same thing with like Ty Dillinger, or like Fandango. It's just like, we've got a history with this company that nobody acknowledges, and damn it, we're pissed off because we've been here longer than a lot of these people, and play it up is maybe a kind of like butthurt heel angle, but Yeah, I don't know. I like what I'm seeing so far. The guy looks like a cross between like a leather belt and John Cena, where it's like I don't know how he's not popping hot for whatever on the wellness violations, but he's got that Vince body that
Which guy are you talking
that
about?
EC3.
Oh, EC3. Oh, gotcha.
Main roster is just like, oh, look at that body. I mean, he's got like these veins on top of veins, and you're just like, dude, like, I care more about the promo and the personality than I do the jackedness.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm interested in see what they do with this guy. Same thing with Clark. Like I think both of these guys could come out of this being fan favorites.
Right.
They're both kind of like really slated to the audience or served to the audience as bad guys. Yeah, I don't know. I think both those guys are pretty squared away.
I think I agree with you. Let's talk about the Gargano situation then. Where does Johnny Gargano go from here now?
I don't know. Like there's a contingency of fans that I'm seeing that are like tired of Johnny Gargano,
right?
And I'm kind of starting to side with them. It's like, look, you've like take a break, be injured or whatever. Give us some time off. Like Tommaso went away for a few months.
Right.
Like let us miss you. It's kind of like I don't know. Like there's a certain number of guys, and it's like always the same one. It's always like Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, and like Randy Orton. Where I'm just like, hey, you could use 8 months doing something else. Go film a movie, or get married, or have a kid, or take some time away because like I don't want to see you. And that's how I feel with Johnny Gargano. It's just like, man, okay, cool. The baby face and Johnny Wrestling, but it's like right now to me, Tommaso Ciampa is more interesting, and you've got this feud with Aleister Black. And you think this guy has been the champ, and he's headlined just one pay-per-view where he won the belt. I mean, everything else has been Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano.
All right.
So I think Gargano will eventually beat Tommaso Ciampa for the belt. And then I don't know, but I feel like you and Black are all ready for the main roster.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree.
Whether it's like being developmental, you're fully developed. You guys are ready to rock and roll. So, I don't know how I feel about those guys.
Yeah, we'll see. Gargano, I mean, obviously he's the ultimate baby face, but yeah, as far as like things are going right now, we are seeing a little bit of a turn. So I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out with Brooklyn. Yeah, it's going to be
interesting to see how the crowd reacts to those guys,
right? If they do get behind Ciampa, I mean, it's great to have the underdog babyface story, but this obsession with Ciampa now, which is justifiable. If it ends up turning against him, that'll be the thing that that's the story that I kind of want to see, like how Ciampa deals with defeat and rejection, or not Ciampa, Gargano, but how the hero of the story deals with adversity now is going to be an interesting one on how they treat this storyline.
How much longer do you think those guys are down in NXT?
I don't know. It's hard because would they get the same type of push? Would they get the same type of time to tell a story? I mean, you look at Sami Zayn and you look at Kevin Owens, right? I mean, those guys, I mean, even though that was the story, right? Sami Zayn was the guy that could not get the title no matter what. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sami Zayn was a perpetual babyface underdog no matter what, right? I mean, the matches that they had with Cesaro, the matches that he had with Neville, and then he finally pulls it off. He finally gets the dream, and then his best friend turns on him. And then his best friend takes everything away from him. So this story with Ciampa and Gargano, it's been told before, right? But they're doing it a little bit different, and it's basic, right? It's basic in pro wrestling. You take an emotion, like trust and betrayal, and you turn it on its ear, and that's where people can buy into, because we can all relate, to being betrayed by somebody. So that's a formula that NXT has been using for a while, and then you get it to the main roster, and they try to, spin it into this whole convoluted story of this, that, and the other, when it just should be basic, right? It should just be basic human emotions at play. So if you take
I think
Gargano and Ciampa,
Candice LeRae in it too.
what's that?
I mean, I think they really lucked out with Candice LeRae being a wrestler as well.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and definitely. I love that little story where she got distracted, in her match, and that's why she lost to Lacey Evans. But on the main roster, can they tell that story? I mean, the thing about it is they have time. They have time on the main roster to tell a little bit more intricate stories than they do on NXT or SmackDown. It's just whether or not they choose to, because here you have right now, again, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. That's the big storyline. Is Brock doesn't care about the WWE universe, but neither does Roman Reigns, right? He doesn't care what the WWE universe thinks about him. So it's like, then what's the point? Why should I be invested in you? I just want to see you get your ass kicked, yeah, it's just tough. The big pertinent storylines, the women's storylines, are interesting. I still don't get what's happening with Sasha and Bailey, and it's tough because I already feel like, okay, they're a tag team, great. So when's the next split going to happen? Or if it doesn't happen, when's the next? Because they're missing out on a great rollout between Bailey and Sasha Banks, right? I mean, they've headlined 2 pay-per-views, and they should headline a main roster pay-per-view, but for reasons that we're unaware of, that's not happening. So to get back to the original question about Ciampa and Gargano, I mean, again, NXT set up all these softballs for them. I don't know why the main roster doesn't want to do it. I don't know why Vince doesn't want to do it.
I hope when the old man steps away, whether it be for XFL or to call it a day, because he's well into his 70s, that will smooth out,
Yeah, I mean, you can already see the landscape kind of changes. I mean, obviously you see what wrestling is when you look at NXT, or what wrestling could be. And I mean, it's not really a secret, because again, why do you think Ring of Honor, why do you think a lot of the indie feds, Evolve and all those guys, even though they are working with WWE, why do you think they have such a rabid following? Because it's not sports entertainment, it's wrestling. And granted, that's what a lot of fans want to see. They want to see great action in the ring. Whereas if you look at what's happening on Raw, they want you to remember moments. They want to remember the time that Kevin Owens got dumped in a porta potty. They want you to remember the horrible skit with Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn. Those are what Vince, I think, is pushing, is moments that you remember, like the milk truck with Kurt Angle or Stone Cold Steve Austin. They don't want you to remember matches, or where we want to remember matches. It's like, for me, even though the Hell in the Cell was a moment and a match, I mean, that's a match that'll always stick out in my head for the rest of my life. Not just being dumped off the cell, but being thrown through the cell. Wrestling coming out after the match, everything, that's the thing that I'll take away from Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, well, even the first Hell in a Cell, it's not remembered for Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. It's the debut of Kane,
right?
It's like that's gotta be Kane,
who's now the mayor of Tennessee, right? That's right.
I think it's both hilarious and awesome. It's like, well, okay. Right,
that's
on.
Scary, but yeah.
That's the thing now.
You think of the Bible Belt, they'd be like, "No, we don't want no demon running the town." But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, somebody posted on a thread that I was reading. It's like Kane's acceptance speech, and it was the segment where they were in therapy, and Kane's basically giving his backstory, and he's like, "And then I had a girlfriend named Katie, and well, we'll just have to leave it at that," and you just think, like, there's so much stuff, there's so much that they shouldn't have, like, it shouldn't have worked with that character, but then in retrospect it makes him more cartoony when he's rehashing it in front of the camera, and it's hilarious. He's like, "I've been married, I've been divorced, I tombstoned a priest, and I have a weird obsession with Pete Rose." And you're just like, man, yeah, these are all true. I remember all these things happening.
Do I want to remember these things? No, I don't. But it's kind of, there's no choice, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main roster then. we've got SummerSlam coming up. What are you looking forward to in SummerSlam?
Ooh, let's see, SummerSlam. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, hands down.
Hands down. I agree. We've got Jeff Hardy versus Nakamura again. That'll be interesting.
I hope that will be good.
Honestly, I'm more interested in what's happening on SmackDown.
Just because I've seen them bungle stuff up with
Say that again?
Nakamura. I'll kind of believe it when I see it because I feel like they've bungled stuff up with Nakamura in the past.
Totally,
so it's like good, but I don't have faith in the storytelling.
Right.
The wacky screwjob finish or Randy Orton will get involved or something.
Right.
The stuff actually this week with Becky Lynch and Carmella, and then Charlotte Flair getting added into the mix, like that's really interesting.
Right.
I don't think Becky's about to flip heel.
I hope not.
I hope not too, but it's leading me to believe she's gonna get frustrated when she loses, and then she's gonna blame it on Charlotte, and they're gonna feud. That's what I'm thinking. I'm excited for Drew Gulak and Cedric Alexander. I hope that's on the main card. I know I posted that on the Facebook No Sale Society group a few days ago, and somebody gave it like a sad reaction.
Dude,
just like, hey, there's one match in the Cruiserweight division. Just let us have that one match.
Dude, that match is gonna be off the hook. I mean, and that they should start having those matches on the main pay-per-view card because people should see, how great the Cruiserweight division is after Neville, after Enzo. I think, I think Cedric Alexander is great talent, and I think, I what I like about Japanese pro wrestling is that you always have these young lions. They start off as newbies, and then some of them start off as juniors, and then they eventually graduate to become heavyweights. And I'd love to see that kind of happen in the WWE where, because Cedric had to cut weight. I mean, he was I think at one time like 230, and then he had to cut weight to 205.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see him wrestling in the higher weight brackets, which or in the main roster.
Was a guy who wait to get on 205 Live, and he's it's still early on, but I think he's been a really good villain.
He's been a good villain, and what I liked about it too was he was supposed to have a title match, but he weighed over 205, and they pulled it away from him. I was like, this is great because it does feel like a little bit UFC-esque. We'll talk a little bit about UFC in a few minutes, but I agree. Here's where I'm kind of iffy on the pay-per-view. I mean, obviously, we don't need to spend time on Roman versus Brock because at this point unless Daniel Cormier from the current UFC light heavyweight champion and the current UFC heavyweight champion, consecutive title holder, unless he runs to the ring or distracts Brock in some way, shape, or form where Roman gets a title, then I'll be okay. But other than that, I really have no interest in watching, unless Brock suplexes Roman to oblivion and retains the title. I mean, that's where I'd love to see it, just as a big F you to everybody. I'm just not interested in the match, even though I just covered a whole lot of different scenarios, which sounds like a lie now. But I am interested in how Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens is going to play out, especially with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. Because again, here's another scenario: if Roman Reigns does win, and then all of a sudden Kevin Owens, which I hope takes the title or the briefcase. I would love to see that. I would not be mad at that scenario, given all the crap that KO has been through. Your thoughts on all that after my large rant?
Ooh, okay, so I think you either have Brock win at SummerSlam, and then Braun cashes in Monday on Raw, and then Brock is off to UFC whatever to train, and I don't know, what is he can fight in January? Is that right?
Yep.
Or I don't know. Like, I just don't want Roman to be the champ, even if
I don't want him to be the champ either, right?
If Kevin Owens wins and cashes in on Raw, like Roman was still champion for a day, and he's still like a former Universal. It's like, dude, no, I don't want it.
I don't want him. That's what I'm saying. Like, I hope KO cashes in the night of, just puts everybody out of the misery, and leaves everybody happy. That'd be great. I don't want 24 hours of Roman Reigns. That's how bad it is.
Do you think he maybe cashes in, kind of like Seth Rollins did? Maybe he pins Roman.
Yep, I would love that to happen.
We could have basically like Roman still hasn't beaten Brock, legit.
Right.
You know, like I mean, pinning all like stuff on the ground in Saudi Arabia.
I'd love that. I'd love that. I would love that storyline to continue where, like, you know, again, and then you have Bobby Lashley come back again, like said, you know, couldn't do it. I mean, that was so weird too, you know, just having Bobby Lashley lose clean to Roman Reigns like that. I was just like, seriously? I mean, come on. I mean, you had such a good.
It totally takes away from the pay-per-view win.
Right.
It's like Extreme Rules didn't matter because he beat him on Raw.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
What if Bobby Lashley beats Kevin Owens after Kevin Owens beats Reigns, and it sets up a rubber between Lashley and Roman for the belt?
Right.
Like they each got a victory on each other. This will be the third match, maybe. Maybe for, I don't know, what is that, Survivor Series or something coming up? I don't know. There's a lot of way more booking than I think the writers do.
Right.
I mean,
well, again, you know, there's a lot of moving parts too, you know, when it comes to booking. You know, I definitely get it, you know, whether, you know, talent is going to make it, you know, what's happening with talent, if this is going to happen down the line, you know, if somebody's going to be doing this, that, or the other. I mean, yeah, it's hard to juggle all of these different storylines in the air. I mean, you know, we still haven't heard about Sami Zayn in a while. I mean, I know he's injured, he's out. I mean, but they could still use him. I don't know if they could still use him. I know he's got both shoulders repaired, but, you know, him hobbling down would be interesting to see with Braun Strowman. I mean, you know, I'm still thinking, like, again, like Kevin Owens is going to win the money against Braun Strowman and the Money in the Bank. But you're thinking what?
What about a spoiler of Dean Ambrose? Is maybe Roman win and then Dean Ambrose returns to the heel and turns on him, or do you have him maybe come into this because you've got Seth Rollins feuding with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre? Do you have him come back to help Seth out? And you think, oh, he's babyface, chivalry, and then he turns on Roman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough because, you know, the Shield brothers is big money, right? I mean, you know, everybody thought that they were disbanded a little too prematurely, and, you know, every time they come back, there's a big pop. You know, at the time, the center of controversy was Seth Rollins. You know, who knows? I mean, maybe it's time for Dean Ambrose to turn back heel again. I don't know. It'd be interesting to happen.
But I think he's like ready to go, right? He's been down at the Performance Center. He's due like any month now.
I've read that he won't be back until Survivor Series, but, you know, that's always a good thing to kind of throw out there so that people don't expect it, so that if he does come back, it's there. But yeah, you got Drew McIntyre, obviously he's there.
That match with Seth Rollins this week was really good.
Oh, they've closed out the show with those guys a couple of times, and, you know, even closing out the show with Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, I think, was the right move, even though, you know, that whole weird countdown thing was weird from the last time. But
going into this week's Raw with Ronda Rousey's debut Raw, do you save that for the main event?
I don't know. I mean, I think Ronda Rousey's been a godsend to the WWE. You know, she's a great PR piece.
Sure.
She's definitely inspirational for young girls and, you know, and male fans alike, you know, to basically, you know, acknowledge the legitimacy of the women's division. I mean, if you didn't have it before, I think you have it now. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd put that in as the main event, only because the narrative that they're still trying to cram down our throats is Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. So we'll see. We'll kind of see what happens with that.
I would say, yeah, but this isn't the Go Home Raw show.
No.
So I would think save that for the following week.
It's going to be her versus Alicia Fox, and, you know, we'll see what happens in between that. I mean, you know, there's always, to me, feel like there's going to be a time where Natty turns on Ronda, but you know, yeah.
I hope that they save stuff like that, and maybe the implosion of Sasha and Bayley, or Horsewomen for the Evolution pay-per-view. Like, I want to see something big come out of that.
Right.
I'm kind of worried because, like, Survivor Series is, I think, 3 weeks after.
Yep.
But I mean, because it's like what, October 28th for Evolution, and then
well, there's so much, right? I mean, we've got because we got October is when the Women's Evolution pay-per-view is happening.
I think you've also got that Australian Super Show in the early part of October. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot happening in that month. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle with all this stuff happening.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things where it's like the Mae Young Classic. It's like I can't tell you who's going to win, but I'm hoping some angles come out of this.
Yeah. There's definitely some angles that should come out of it.
Whether it's these new Japanese women feuding with each other, or maybe they form like a faction. Like, how cool would that be? Or like enough women for a NXT Women's Tag Team division, which could like lead the charge to like the main roster. Stephanie McMahon can take credit for inventing women, it's like I invented a whole gender. That's what I did. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where, and that's the cool thing about NXT is like you have like A, B, and maybe even like a C feud with the women, know? So you've got like Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane fighting for the belt, but then you've also got like stuff with Lacey Evans, coming up, and Dakota Kai, and then you've got Bianca Belair, like just like she's gonna have a good next 12 months, I think.
Well, if they're gonna do all women's pay-per-view, I mean, they have the roster to do it, and they have a lot of talent to do it. I mean, the question now then begs: would you do an all women's program on the network?
Yeah, I think there's an audience for that.
Yeah,
I mean, how much time are you killing? Who's watching Main Event? Like, I realize like that's like a international TV deal thing.
Yeah,
like that superstars. But it's like, hey,
well, then you got Fox, right? And then Fox has acquired SmackDown Live, so we'll see what happens. I mean, and we don't know 100% if it's going to go to 3 hours or 2 hours. And I mean, Friday night's tough because like who stays at home at night and watches TV on a Friday, right? A lot of people are probably going to be DVRing the crap out of it, but then you never know. I mean, it's a tough one. What's that?
Yeah, I say that sucks too because that's the better roster right now.
See,
that's the better roster. Like everything stays the same.
That's the indie fan's dream, right? Nakamura, Joe, Styles. I mean, all those guys are on that roster. Daniel Bryan is on that roster. So what do you do? And apparently Daniel Bryan still has signed on, but was pushing for a lighter schedule, which good for him.
That he has agreed to some like November dates, but I guess like his contract still expires 1 September.
Yeah, I see him sticking with the WWE. Plus, you look at what's happening with this feud with The Miz and Daniel Bryan. I mean, finally, it's kind of, again, we talked about promos. I mean, that was a good promo. Between The Miz and Daniel Bryan. I mean, those guys alone could just carry a pay-per-view, in my opinion. I mean, just with the heat that's generated. I love the fact that he still called him a coward, and I still love the fact that they kind of tried to renew their feud from talking smack. So yeah, I mean, kudos to those guys.
Smack in NXT because it's like you guys have the footage for all this. This is a softball feud. Just
one of those things you should just, that would be a great video package. Just the whole history between Daniel Bryan and The Miz. Spectacular. Just footage on everything. The history, the hate, the love, whatever. It's gonna be good.
They can do like a UFC style special on. How they do these like specials going into the big shows.
Yeah.
It's like you could have some kind of like WWE Unleashed with the Daniel Bryan Miz feud or something. You just have like a narration over it and have some sit down interviews UFC style where it's like them kind of like at a side camera with black background, kind of like they do when they interview Brock a lot of the times.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that would definitely work.
So other than that, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting pay-per-view, SummerSlam main card. One of those things again where NXT looks like it's going to outshine the SummerSlam Well, I mean, I don't know. They're trying to make SummerSlam into the WrestleMania of the, the big, they have the big four pay-per-views: Royal Rumble, um, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and then Survivor Series. So, hopefully this, SummerSlam is the second WrestleMania of the year, and make as big as extravagant you get and put in some fantastic matches. But yep, I'm looking forward to what's going on. Definitely the Mae Young Classic is going to be a huge boon. The UK tournament too was good. I'd love to see them do another Cruiserweight Classic just because they could do it. There's still a lot of good cruiserweights that they have on there. I mean, you had Sean Maluda. He's been working a little bit with the Performance Center. Raul Mendoza has been working with it. I forget the gentleman's name that was from Chile. He was the only guy there. They've used him a couple of times too in training. He was good. He was like the 6-foot guy that had to lose a lot of weight from Chile. He was the only pro wrestler representing Chile at the time.
I remember the story. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I've known I know they've used him a couple of times for a couple of things. But I don't know.
I would like to see more of that because I would like to see 205 be beefed up a little bit. I mean, I feel like right now they're probably, if I had to say, maybe like 12 deep on that show.
Yeah, maybe. And again, I'd definitely love to see. I mean, TJP, has kind of been going up and down. I'd love to see him. I mean, I think he's definitely one of the best, most talented wrestlers. I mean, he's, again, one of those guys who's been wrestling forever, and, it kind of shows in his work. I think he's very solid in the ring. Brian Kendrick this past week, I mean, fantastic as well. I love Leo Rush. I'm still kind of, I'm on the fence about Leo Rush. I'm like, yeah, he's okay. I mean, Akira Tozawa, that's a guy that, again, that guy is money. Hideo Itami, we'll see what happens with him if he continues with the WWE or not. And yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm excited that Drew Gulak and Cedric, I hope they have some time on the main pay-per-view rather than on the opener. But that's definitely somebody that should, that's a match that should get some eyes. That's something that I would push to basically say, here's what you're missing on the WWE network. Drew Gulak is a solid talent.
When I was reading about like the Fox deal, so it sounds like Fox may want more than just SmackDown, but it sounded like NXT they're looking to keep on the network as kind of like a network exclusive kind of like. Although with that said, if anybody watching this or listening to this is got Hulu, 205 Live and NXT are both on Hulu. So I get no kickback from Hulu, but I'm just saying.
I wish it, right? At this point. Awesome.
And the cool thing with Hulu is you can skip ahead 30 seconds. So that's not a feature that's on the WWE Network.
Yeah.
So finger of shame to WWE Network for not having a fast forward button.
Yet.
Yes.
All righty. Well, there's a lot of things that's happened in the world of pro wrestling. I mean, this past week we lost Nikolai Volkov, Brickhouse Brown, and Jerry Lawler's son Brian Christopher. If you remember him, and his tag team partner Scotty 2 Hotty, who also teamed up with Rikishi. Just a lot of interesting things that have happened as far as the loss of pro wrestlers. It still continues. It's weird because Brian Christopher is still pretty young. I mean, it's in his 40s, right? Late 40s.
Yeah.
So, yeesh. Yeah, it's hard. Nikolai Volkov was a tough one. I've always liked Nikolai. I thought him and the Iron Sheik was one of the best underrated tag teams out there.
Him and Freddie Blassie, that was the classic like foreign heel tag team of America, Patui, Iran, number one, one.
I always tell this story. I remember the promo where after the WrestleMania where Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine dropped the tag team titles. I think it was to Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo. Can't remember, but anyway, the promo.
Yeah, 2 or WrestleMania 1, maybe.
I think so. I just remember the Iron Sheik cutting this promo. It's basically saying the reason why they lost, well, why Brutus and Greg lost was because I think Greg he said, I believe he was referring to Greg Valentine having diarrhea that night. And I was just like, what the hell? Cameraman, zoom in. Greg Valentine, he wasn't feeling so good. He had the diarrhea. And I was like, that's the first time I ever heard diarrhea on television. And I was like, wow, okay. Thank you, Iron Sheik. Love it.
That's one of those things that there's a total Vince McMahon sense of humor of like a little third grader of like, yeah, keep it in.
I don't know. I don't know if that was a legit, well, I mean, they had more freedoms on there, but this is when they were on basic cable. So, maybe they could get away with a little bit more, like dropping the diarrhea word. But yeah, I like Nikolai Volkov. I thought he, I thought he had a great look and great presence in the ring. It's just, again, sad that he ended up passing away, but time waits for no one.
Later on, where the $1 million, the corporation, right? It was like the corporation before the corporation.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, he's lost everything, and he's like the sympathetic member of like Ted DiBiase's faction or something.
Yeah, didn't he have a jacket that had cents on it? Just had the cent symbol on it. Yeah. Yeah, there was that, and there was right. Yeah, there was there was a whole Lithuania thing when they were seeking independence from Russia. There was that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that they did with Nikolai. I mean, Nikolai was like one of those reliable guys that was always around, right? There was him. There's Tito Santana. Greg Valentine as well. I thought he'd never leave the WWE, and
I just remember guys like Iron Mike Sharp and like Dusty Wolf. Oh my gosh,
yeah, Dusty Wolf. Yeah, there was like
number one Job Squad guys right there.
I miss Jobber guys. I mean, you had Ellsworth for a while too, which is kind of nice. They brought back the Jobbers, but yeah, the Jobbers need some love too. There's
like they had Colin Delaney, from the WWE ECW on 205.
Yeah. Live. Yeah, Colin Delaney. I forgot about that, and he looked a lot more yoked than he did when he first started. So yeah, that was good.
Definitely.
There's a couple of guys there's a couple guys that they brought back too. That was like trying to make it. I mean, I know there was one guy in the Cruiserweight Classic. Gosh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's been on the Canadian scene for a long time, and he was really he's one of these standout guys. And then I think he got injured. Which one?
Tyson Dukes.
Was it Tyson Dukes? Yeah, I believe it was Tyson Dukes.
Yeah, he was really good.
Really good. And it's like I was hoping that they bring him back, but I don't know if he wanted to do the WWE schedule or visa or all this other kind of stuff. It's tough. Canadians, they're having a hard time coming to the country now. So
I'm just thinking about James Storm. Like, remember when James Storm was in NXT for a cup of coffee?
Do you have Amazon? Do you have Amazon Prime?
No, I think my girlfriend does though.
Okay, so Ring of Honor had a tournament on Amazon Prime, which I watched a couple weeks ago, which is called Dojo Pro. And so Jeff Cobb,
nice.
He was kind of like the main draw for that tournament, but it was a tournament to win the Dojo Pro belt. You basically have like this white belt, and week by week, whoever won the match would get the white belt, and then at the end of the tournament, they would challenge to get the Dojo Pro black belt, and everybody was seeded. So from the number one seed was Jeff Cobb, and then it kind of went down this row of people. And James Storm is on it. So James Storm was the match on that as well. He was kind of the surprise veteran. Cheeseburger, also from ROH fame, he makes an appearance on that show. So yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, check out Dojo Pro. There's a lot of interesting wrestlers on there. Wrestling, some of it was pretty decent. As obviously as you get up the card, which a little bit more seasoned guys like Jeff Cobb, the matches started.
Amazon Prime is like getting involved with wrestling. It's like, come on.
I mean, they're trying. Yeah, exactly. We should definitely push a lot of things on Amazon Prime as well as, different programs too. I mean, if you're a big anime fan too, they've got some pretty decent anime if you're not watching Crunchyroll or Funimation's channel. But that's a different subject.
Battlestar Galactica, like that's my girlfriend's favorite show, and I'd never seen it before.
Oh,
I remember it was like super, like 10 years ago. But I was like, I'll try this, Or we watched like the 2-part miniseries, like the first episode of the show.
Yeah, the writer for that show was kind of cut his teeth on Deep Space Nine. So I'm a big fan of Deep Space Nine because it was like the darker, more edgier Star Trek.
That was like the Star Trek. I like Next Generation, but like I like Cisco.
Yeah. So if you like dark and edgy sci-fi, I mean, then definitely Battlestar Galactica is definitely for you. Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty great.
I was JoJo Pro on Amazon Prime. That's a good plug. I'm making notes here. I mean that.
Yeah.
Derek and Daniel Bryan double date with Bellas.
Yeah. When you watch that clip, come back and then let me know what you think about it. It's also that one. There's also the one clip about where they had that weird talent show kind of thing between the pros. I don't know if you remember that, where you had to like guess what your pro was thinking. It's so stupid, but it was just so entertaining. And Derek Bateman and Daniel Bryan ended up winning that competition. So check that one out too as well. As far as like, Matt Stryker.
The guy got the stash.
What's that?
Do you remember that guy that he was with John Morrison and like he had to cut a promo on mustache? Do you remember that guy?
No.
Was that he was his name was like Leon or Leo, or this very tall guy. But they were given a word that they had to like use in the promo, and this one guy got a mustache.
You're talking about tough. Oh yeah, you're talking about or NXT. Yeah. No. Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Matt Cappotelli passing away too, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
we covered that.
We covered that.
And, man, gosh, we've covered a lot of death lately, it seems. No, there was somebody else.
I'm going to edit that part out, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a rough time to be a wrestler, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Do we mention? Well, by the time this airs, Keith Lee will have debuted on NXT.
Yeah,
and that could mean something. I saw Keith Lee on one of his final appearances at Lucha Libre and Laughs.
Yep,
it's coming up this Friday at the Oriental Theater, Denver, Colorado.
Are you coming to that?
I plan to. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you over there then.
This gig that my girlfriend is doing. She's in a band, and I'm skipping that for pro wrestling. So.
Whoa. That's not good. That's not good.
Baby,
That is not good.
Last month, like I want to go this month.
Yep.
So yeah, that's I think from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So if you're in Colorado with us, please come out. Like support local.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull the go home signal. So we're wrapping it up. Any other last things you wanted to cover before we sign off?
Anything you got for comics?
Comics. Totally forgot about the comics part of it. Yeah, what do we got for comics there?
So like we've kind of done in the past. I'm trying to get something so if you listen to this anywhere in the country, you can get like your one mainstream book.
Yep.
And if you're kind of local, or if you want to check out something online, I got a pick for that. So for my comic pick of the week, there's a book. It's published by Image Comics. It's called Analog. It's a kind of an action sci-fi story set in the year 2024. And it's about this guy who's what's called a paper jockey. He's basically like the cloud has burst, and the only thing on the internet now is porn. So any snippet you send via email or anything is basically subject to being pulled. So people are sending these paper jockeys to hand carry sensitive information. So it's kind of a little like demonic, kind of like you've got a carrier who's going to hand deliver your wares, so to speak. And the first 4 issues are out now. The 5th issue comes out August 15th. And the first trade paperback is coming out August 3rd. So that might be something that you know, if you go to your local comic shop, support local, wherever this might find you. You could probably still get that out of previews. Again, that's October 3rd for the trade paperback for Analog by Image Comics. It's written by Jerry Duggan, and the art's by David O'Sullivan. And then for the kind of local spotlight, there's a book called Amelia that Tia Hunt, that's Thea Hunt, is put out. And she's got actually she's got a Tumblr, so you don't even have to pay for this, but you can check it out online though at ameliathescribe.tumblr.com. That's AMELIATHSCRIBE.tumblr.com. And it's a kind of a fantasy story about a young girl. She's like 8 or 9. And she gets separated from her family, and she's raised by these gods. So it's kind of like she's got one foot in the mortal world and another foot kind of in the world of fantasy. But it's local Colorado creator, my friend Tia Hunt, and yeah, it's I don't know if she's still got copies available. I picked up the first issue of Amelia at Dink back, what was that, like this last year.
Nice. Yep.
But yeah, it's one of those where it's like, hey, you know, it costs you nothing to check it out online. So, you know, check it out. Support a local Colorado artist if you can. And, you know, if that's not available in your area, maybe check out Analog by Image Comics. So, I don't know, it's a little bit of sci-fi. So, yeah, and I guess the writer for that, Jerry Duggan, had worked on Deadpool and Uncanny Avengers. So I read neither of those titles, but I tried Analog #1 and then wound up, you know, checking out issues 2, 3, and 4.
Sweet.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's something I'll keep an eye out for. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if you like a little sci-fi, I mean, it's neat. Kind of like Johnny Mnemonic, but it's like, man, who hand carries messages and you know, like briefcases, you know, with sensitive information. It's like we have the internet and stuff, you know.
Right.
But it's interesting. I thought it was kind of. I'm curious to see where it goes, you know.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'll check it out. Awesome, Dave. Thanks for those picks.
Yeah, sure. Anything else? Anything you'd like to plug, or anything where anybody could find us, or if they want to reach out, or
no, definitely
recommend anything?
For
recommend.
Yeah, definitely like us on Facebook, you know, No Cell Society. Also on the video, and like and subscribe to this video to get updates on when we start to put up the show on a more consistent basis. And you can follow both of us. We're both online. You can follow me on Twitter at my last name at Kaahui, Kaahui. You can also follow Dave. Dave, where can we follow you?
Facebook? So you can, I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter, but I'm on Facebook. And you can reach me there, or you can email me at dave.drasheff, DRASHEFF @gmail.com. And I don't know. I guess if maybe we get some feedback, maybe we'll touch on that in a later episode if that's the thing.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, that's all we've got for this week, folks. Got a lot of wrestling coming up. Obviously, we'll kind of come back with you and as SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver starts to draw near, and we'll start talking a little bit more about the Mae Young Classic as it starts to develop. So that's our show for this week. Again, I'm Gerard G. Kaihui speaking for Dave Drasheff. What do we know selling this week, Dave?
WWE firing James Ellsworth. Hashtag follow him on Instagram or Twitter.
No sell James Ellsworth leaving. All right. I think he might come back. I mean, you know, never know. SummerSlam would be an interesting time for them to bring him back if they needed to.
When 1000 happens, he's going to pop up.
I hope so. I mean,
they were like on 998 or 988, so maybe about 12 weeks or so.
Hopefully.
Off TV.
I know that, you know, he's working an indie show with Big Kaz. The recently released Big Kaz. He's now Big Kaz. But,
ZZ.
Who's also working, and I think Mick Foley's also on that show, on that indie show. So, yeah.
I thought something worked with Jerry Lawler earlier today or last night. And
wow!
Like, man, that's he gets like all these bookings.
Hey, I mean,
Yeah.
it's good for him, you know. Yeah, definitely. You know, he's making a living off of pro wrestling, and you can't deny the guy's got. I think the guy's got talents and skills. He's got a look that people like, you know, chin or not. But anyway,
And man with two hands.
any man with two hands. All right, that's the show for tonight. And again, we're gonna selling James Ellsworth getting fired again. But hey, you know, we'll probably see him back. So stay strong, and again, have a good no sell. Take care, everybody.